Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Muslim friends who are blessed by Allah. In the long history of the Islamic struggle, there is one great event that illustrates how broad the missionary vision of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was. This event occurred after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah in the 6th year of Hijriah. At that time, the Prophet not only focused on spreading Islam in the Arabian Peninsula, but began to spread da'wah throughout the world, through pen and kalam, through letters written with full tenderness, faith, and calls for monotheism. The Prophet sent letters to kings and world leaders who were famous for their power and splendor. However, none of them hindered the Prophet's enthusiasm to convey messages from heaven. Let's discuss them one by one. 1. Letter to Heraclius, Eastern Roman Emperor. After the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam began sending missionary letters outside the Arabian Peninsula. One of the most historic letters is to Heraclius, the Eastern Roman Emperor, the leader of a large empire who was highly respected at that time. The Prophet began the letter with words full of grace. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. He wrote, from Muhammad, the servant of Allah and his messenger, to Heraclius, the great Roman leader. Enter Islam, you will surely be saved. Allah will give you a double reward, but if you turn away, then the sins of your people will be your responsibility. This letter closes with a verse from the Quran from Surah Ali Imran, verse 64. Say, O people of the book, come to one sentence that is the same between us and you, that we worship none other than Allah. The letter was brought by the noble friend Dihya al-Kalbi and delivered directly into the hands of Emperor Heraclius. Heraclius received the letter with great respect. He read it, then asked someone who knew the Prophet Muhammad to bring it. So Abu Sufyan was presented, who at that time was still a polytheist and was one of the leaders of the Quraysh. In the presence of Heraclius, Abu Sufyan was asked about the Prophet, what his morals were, his nasab, his teachings, and his followers. Even though Abu Sufyan was an enemy of the Prophet, he was unable to lie and finally acknowledged the honesty, trustworthiness, and morals of the Prophet. Hearing all this, Heraclius said, if what you say is true, then he is the Prophet we are waiting for, and if I were near him, I would wash his feet. However, even though his heart was inclined towards Islam, Heraclius did not dare to declare his faith. He was afraid of losing his throne, being rejected by his people, and being opposed by the officials of his kingdom. So he kept the truth in his heart. And the Prophet's letter remains a witness that the message of Islam has reached him. 2. Letter to Kisra, king of Persia. In contrast to Heraclius, who read the Prophet's letter with respect, Kisra, king of Persia, actually showed a very arrogant attitude. When the letter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached him, he read it in an angry tone. How could it be possible, he thought, that a man from the desert who had no kingdom should write to him, the ruler of the great Persian Empire? In his arrogance, Kisra tore up the letter in front of his officials. He not only rejected, but also insulted the prophetic message brought by the Prophet. When the news reached the Prophet, he did not reply with anger, but raised his hands and prayed, "May Allah tear up his kingdom as he tore up my letter." And not long after, the Prophet's prayer came true. The Persian Empire began to falter. There was internal chaos, power struggles, until finally the large and majestic kingdoms collapsed one by one, until they completely disappeared from the history of the Islamic world. Kisra has torn the letter of the Prophet, so Allah tore his power to shreds. 3. Letter to Muqawqis, king of Egypt. It was different again with Muqawqis, the ruler of Egypt from the Coptic nation. He received the prophet's letter with a gentler and more civilized attitude. Muqawqis read the letter carefully. He did not convert to Islam, but he did not reject it harshly. He appreciated the contents of the letter and understood the intent of the prophet's preaching. In return, Muqawqis sent noble gifts to the prophet: clothes, camels, servants, and 2 women, Maria al-Qibtiyya and her sister Sirin. From there, Maria became one of the prophet's honorable wives and later gave birth to his son named Ibrahim, although the child died as a baby. Muqawqis did not become a Muslim, but he showed a wise and diplomatic attitude. He did not insult, did not criticize, and instead showed respect for the prophetic message. And that is an important message. That respecting the truth, even though one cannot yet accept it, is still a form of noble morals. Letter to Najashi, King Habsha. Among the kings who received letters from the Prophet ﷺ, Najashi, king of Habsha, Ethiopia, was a very special figure. Najashi is known as a fair, knowledgeable, and gentle-hearted leader. Previously, he had provided protection to Muslims who emigrated from Mecca to his country. He not only provides a place, but also gives them a sense of security without expecting anything in return. It was to this noble king that the Prophet sent a letter, inviting him to convert to Islam and worship Allah Almighty. And with guidance from Allah, Najashi accepted Islam. However, because the political situation in his country at that time made it impossible, he kept his Islam a secret. He continued to practice Islamic teachings in secret, guarding the faith and people in silence. Najashi was the first non-Arab king to convert to Islam. He is proof that the Prophet's preaching has penetrated national boundaries and skin color. When he died, the news reached the Prophet. The Prophet then gathered his friends and prayed to him in an unseen manner, a rare honor that had never been given to any other non-Arab leader. Indeed, this shows how high Najashi's position was with the Messenger of Allah and how valuable justice and courage are in upholding faith, even in silence. Letter to Munzir bin Sawa, king of Bahrain. Of the many kings who received a letter of dawah from the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, King Munzir bin Sawa of Bahrain was one whose heart was completely open to the truth. When the letter from the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, reached him, he did not doubt, did not delay, and did not argue. With an open heart and a sincere soul, he accepted the dawah of Islam and embraced the religion of monotheism. Not only him, but most of the people of Bahrain also declared the Shahada, making the region one of the first regions outside the Hijaz to become part of the Islamic world. Bahrain then developed into a center of dawah and knowledge, thanks to the sincerity of its leader in accepting the Prophet's message. There was no bloodshed, no coercion, only a peaceful welcome and acceptance of faith. Munzir bin Sawa's attitude is an example that when a leader opens his heart to the truth, Allah's mercy will descend not only on him, but also on all his people. Islamic friends, these letters are not just historical pages, but it is clear evidence of the nobility of the Prophet's morals and preaching strategy. First, that Islam is a religion of mercy. Dawah is delivered with wisdom, gentleness, and respect for every soul. Second, the Prophet never forced. He invited with morals, not with violence, with love, not with force. Third, the letters are witnesses that Islam is a universal religion who came not only for Arabs, but for all mankind on earth. Today, we can probably only read about those letters in history books or museums, but the content lives on. a call to monotheism, to justice, to peace. Hopefully, we can continue the struggle for the Prophet's preaching, with gentle words, with noble morals, and with a heart full of love. Because we are the people of the Prophet, and our task is to transmit this message to all corners of the world. Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before I conclude, please allow me to sincerely apologize if in this presentation there were any words that were inappropriate or unintentional mistakes. As a human, I am certainly not free from errors. May Allah forgive all my shortcomings and mistakes, and I hope that you all can forgive me as well. My hope is that what has been conveyed today can become beneficial knowledge and bring us closer to His pleasure. Thank you for your attention and patience.